So Herman, in 2014, Eskom's push was a bit of a side hustle. When did things
Yep.
change?
When exactly is a difficult thing. I mean, we started the app with the idea that it's going to be something fun, right? We never planned for it to being income or anything like that. So we just did it because we could. And I guess it started to be something really real in 2021 when I started working on it full time, and then my family and everyone is dependent on it, right? So I guess 2021 is the time.
How did the idea come about?
Well, the name comes from, I'll tell you the story about the name. But the idea came from me and Dan. We were working in the same company at the time, and we wanted to know, we were young, so we didn't have families and things like that, but we wanted to know, is it a good time to go home
Yes.
because there might be load shedding at the office, or do we stay a bit longer and work here because it's load shedding at home? Maybe even get dinner at the office. Um, and then we quickly wrote something over a weekend so that we can see it in an app. And since then, it's been, of course, growing and growing. It was slow in the start. Like people think it was an immediate success. They think, oh, because they discovered it in 2019, oh, it's immediate success. No, it's not. It was years of building in on weekends and things like that. And it over time grew and grew and grew. And of course, I'm very happy with that growth.
How did it grow? Was it word of mouth? Or was the fact that you named it Eskom's push, the fact that it plays on so many levels to the colloquial language
Yeah.
of people? What do you think actually created that excitement, the intrigue, and the growth of the company?
Oof. I think the name, of course, helped, right? So the name was inspired actually because Dan and I, we were working on banking apps, and one of the banks we were working with, Capitec, they had a very people with very strong Afrikaans accents in the call, and we were talking about push notifications and doing push notifications for your banking transactions. And they said it in a very funny way, just like I would say it. Yeah. Anyway, um, and then Dan and I, we are not serious people, right? We usually mute. It was a Polycom system. We would mute the Polycom system and then laugh a bit like teenagers, and then go on with the meeting. And then when you had to send push notifications for Eskom, we were like, oh, Eskom's a push. It just clicked. But I also didn't think that we were imagining it growing to the size, right? We were like, okay, cool, it will be funny, probably like a meme. It will be something that lasts a day, maybe a year. And now it's been almost 10 years. So yeah, it's been going growing and growing.
Did
And the
you
name is definitely up. We spent like I think 5,000 rand on marketing in the whole time. And it wasn't very successful. But marketing is really hard, or
listen?
advertising, I should say.
If you don't live in South Africa and load shedding and load
Mm.
rotation isn't part of your reality, how would you explain the function of this app to outsiders?
Oof. The easiest way is to firstly know why load shedding is happening, right? So load shedding and load reduction, they have different meanings and different reasons, but mostly it's because the grid or the availability, the generation side of things isn't providing enough power or cannot handle enough power. And that means instead of things blowing up because there's not enough power, because if people are demanding more power than there's being generated, things really would go wrong on the grid. And that's when you talk like full-on blackout days without power, that type of stuff. So Eskom and very, very smart people there decided this is the best way to protect the grid, and I believe that is true. And what they do is they switch off certain areas during certain times of the day, to basically lessen the demand so that the generation can keep up with the demand. And we wrote an app that lets you know when your power is going to go off per area, right? So it's not very complicated.
Help us to understand how you actually built it, because many of us,
Yeah.
we just know apps and we use it, but we don't really understand the intricacies of it. You have a bachelor's degree in engineering. How has that helped
Yes.
you to create this?
Yeah, so I studied electrical and electronic engineering. I even got my master's. I'm not using any of that. I usually tell people that the only thing I'm using for my time doing engineering is that I'm not scared of problems, right? Because you're solving such difficult math and things that you think, oh, I'll never be able to do this. And then after time, you realize, oh, you just find a way. So you're not scared of jumping into problems. And I think that helps from the technical side of things. I'm somebody that likes building prototypes. The thing that you people see, the app that's there, that's been going through a lot of phases.
Yeah.
And you don't actually see what didn't go to production, right? So there's a lot of things. I've thrown away more apps than has been published. I think many more, like 90% of my work is thrown away. And that's just because we try stuff. We build it and we try it, we prototype it, first of design, and yeah, we throw things away. And if it isn't working, it's too complicated. Dan and I, we've put very strong rules for us to know, is it matching these values for us? And one of those values is it simple? And that's not just from a user interface where people need to quickly understand it. If it's too complicated, people will not be interested in it. But also it needs to be simple, like cheap, right? Because it's not like we are millionaires. It needs to run really cheaply, and also not use a lot of data for people and things like that. So it needs to be simple. So as soon as something gets too complicated, we usually throw it away, and then try again, or hopefully try again.
When I told colleagues that I was going to chat to you, they were so intrigued, and all they wanted to know was, where do you get all the information from? How do you stay up to date? How do you grow your audience, your market? Because it started from as an answer to a need, a huge need in South Africa. Take us through those processes and how it's put together and how it really serves consumers.
So when Dan and I started, of course, we started, like I said, a little bit like a joke, right? So it was like, okay, cool. We start with small, who cares? And then other companies started doing it. This is back in 2014 again, 2015. News24 had an app called Gridwatch, and we're competitive. So we're like, okay, how can we be better than Naspers with the information, right? Two people versus this corporate, right? That is the mindset. Okay, let's go. And then we really go fight for being first with the information, for being accurate, not sending nonsense information, not misleading people. And I think that quality of making sure, like we if we think there might be load shedding, for example, we're not doing it. We need to know. Like we're not our brand shouldn't be conceived as like misleading, except for April Fools. We do like an April Fools joke. But I think some of those things has really helped us build this brand of trusted, and it's something that is not, you can't buy that. You can't just market it till people know it. You need to sort of deliver on it, and I think that's, for me at least, that's one of the main things. It's like being that trusted app. As for other things, like we try to keep our brand really cheeky together with the name. Like that's also something that we pull through, and it's really difficult to maintain sometimes because we also get tired. And if you look at our inbox, it's just people complaining. Nobody is like, woohoo. That's not actually true. Over time, more people are like, woohoo, thank you so much. There's much more of that than a few years ago. But it is tiring, and load shedding is not a fun topic. So we keep on trying to have the cheeky thing. Just, I think, a little bit for people as well, so that because we don't want people to just look at the bad side of things. Yes, it sucks. Load shedding sucks. There's no way around that. But we have to continue, and this is the same for us. Like load shedding is really not a fun topic. But if you try to work in some fun in it, then it's hard. So usually, yesterday, for example, there was a tweet that I tweeted about we're getting ready to doing notifications this week because load reduction is starting in city of Joburg. And there's like, okay, cool. It's a funny tweet. It's not serious, right? But people really respond to that to taking a very serious topic and then trying to put a little bit of fun spin on it, especially with the brand. I think if Eskom tries to make light of load shedding, I don't think that would be appreciated, for example.
No, yes, no, definitely not. But I also see that you have changed the look of it. You've abbreviated it to ESP. That's one thing that I've seen. And I've also seen that there are more communities that are becoming involved. Was that intentional?
Yeah, definitely. We get a lot of email. Again, our inbox is full of email. And of course, there's a lot of people asking us about their power outages and things like that. But there's also, like, I remember there was one about a hadida that flew into a box on the power lines and it took it out. And it's like, yes, what should I do about that? It's very difficult. So it's, the idea came, okay, and also other things like my water is brown. Do you know why? And it's like, I have no idea what's happening with water in Tukwini, right? It's not my, I have no idea. So how can we connect people with other people that might know and can help? And that is sort of where this idea came from. It came from our inbox, and we also see that for us, the mission now is like, how can we get other people to also do things with other information like we did with load shedding, right? So there are people that know and have information. It could be ward councillors, it could be just normal people, but they want to be what we call local heroes, where they're helping other people out. And now we're seeing, okay, what can we do? How can we create a space where people can also update their community and in their area? And we'll see. It's still a journey. These things also take time. We also need to see, okay, what is the perfect way? Because we know that there's a need for it. People do need the information, but yeah, it takes time.
How do you make your money?
Advertising. 90% of it is advertising. So we do Google advertising mostly, and then we also do very specialized campaigns. For example, Checkers have advertised with us a few times. And because we have such a big audience, they of course get it's really successful, especially for Black Friday campaigns and things like that. But then also we have in-app purchases where people can pay to be subscribing or supporting the app, and then we also give them remove all the ads from the app because the ads are annoying. We try to balance it out so it's not too annoying, but ads are ads, and we have to have ads to survive. And then what's also interesting, and I didn't see this coming when we started it, is we provide load shedding information on an API, and we give this mostly to normal free tier users that's using the app for free, and they use it for home automation. So to know, for example, one of the main use cases is if you have a solar system, okay, should I charge the batteries more? Can I use more of the batteries? Things like that. And then also businesses use the API. One is the ISP, and they use it to, if their customers calling them, to say, oh, you have load shedding, that's why you don't have internet, or something like that. Or one is, if there's a tower that's down, is it because of vandalism or is it because there's load shedding? So these things really help with the operations. So that's not something I foresee coming.
The fact that not everybody is technically minded, explain what's the API?
Oh, that's how other programs can integrate with ESP, for example. So they can get what is this load shedding stages for City of Cape Town, CBD, things like that, so they know what's happening there.
Was there a moment that you realized, okay, this can actually be a full-time job? What was that moment?
Well, in 2020, my son was born, and that really strained all my resources. It was no longer to do two jobs, right? So I couldn't work on ESP and do a full-time job. There's not enough time, and be a father. So that sort of inspired me to, okay, is there a way for us to do this full-time? And it wasn't really a sure thing in 2022, because it's like, okay, it's going okay. It's not like I had to take a huge salary cut, for example, but I was like, okay, I have more free time in a way because I can manage my own time. I don't have a boss. I guess I can call Dan a boss. But Dan was also still working full time at that point. So, and then luckily for us, there was more load shedding during 2022 and 2023. And then, yeah, it was, I guess, successful for a move for me. But yeah, the real thing now is, can we keep it going, right? Because there isn't load shedding right now. And we're okay without load shedding. Like I said, we still have that 2 million users, but it's not the same as with load shedding. And at some point, we would, of course, like to grow the business, like hire more people and grow it faster. But I'm a really bad business person. If I talk to the people that have MBAs and things like that, it's like, no, you have to manage your cash flow. You have to, you have to almost be in a negative with your cash flow and invest and hire more people. It's like, this is how you grow. And they're probably right. They're smart people, but I cannot work like that. Like that, I cannot, that the level of risk is not something I'm not easy with that. So we have to sort of figure out what is the right level for us, and then grow the business without taking risks on like hiring people and then having to lay them off if there's no load shedding, for example. That doesn't sit well with me.
There's often this perception that the success does come overnight, and you've pointed it out earlier that it really took some years and a lot of hard work. Tell me a little bit about the sacrifices that you had to make and the lessons learned through this process.
I should ask my wife that. Like she's the one that will tell you about the sacrifices. So you asked earlier, one of your questions were about, okay, how do we build that brand and how do we get the information? The way that we are first in things is when there's load shedding things happening on Twitter or on websites and things like that, we get banged with like a lot of push notifications on our phone. So I could be in the middle of a braai, I could be in the middle of watching a series with my wife. It could be anything like that. I was like, sorry, I need to go. I have to stop. Let's pause. I need to quickly send a notification or update something on the app. So these things do take a lot of because it's ad hoc, right? It's something that happens. Like it could be 2 a.m. in the morning where I'm like, called up and say, hey, there's something up. But this is, I mean, yeah, there's pros and cons to these things. But it takes time, like you said. It's like it's a thing that you have to keep going, and you have to find that motivation yourself. If at any point it's like, oh, this is too much work, then it's not, you're failed. That's the end.